Welcome to the next episode of Brandland. I'm your host, Garrett Justice, and I'm joined by a special guest today. My guest is Robert Thomas from a company called Feazel. Robert, it's great to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to talk about this topic today, but before we do that, would you mind giving our listeners a little bit more of an overview of your background, your career so far, and also what Feazel does?
Sure. So I started actually in the recruiting content marketing field for an IT consulting company here based out of Columbus, Ohio. And, so it was a business to business, kind of the slow burn projects, having meetings about meetings, but the campaigns were a lot of fun to work on, and it was fun to garner new business that way. And then I came about Feazel. I actually knew the former marketing director here, and he recommended the position when he was going to pursue another opportunity. Thought it was a little advantageous for me to do so, but stroke of luck, I guess, as well. And been here for almost 4 years now. And Feazel is a exterior home construction company. We specialize in roofing, windows, siding, gutters, both on the residential and commercial side. And our commercial division is mostly gathered of, we call them multifamily units. So apartment complexes that have multiple buildings, anything that's we call a steep slope roof, with asphalt shingles, the same type of shingles that you would see on most people's homes in residential and suburban areas. We don't do any of the big flat roofs you would see on Home Depots or strip malls or anything like that. But so we specialize in those trades, and 6 locations under the Feazel name. We also, at the end of 2018, acquired another exterior remodeling company called Shanco, which is outside of Washington, D.C., specifically in Gaithersburg, Maryland. And we acquired them. We operate under that name. They're a great hometown, remodeling company. So we kept that name for sure, and also going to expand that brand into Northern Virginia as well. So,
awesome.
You could say under the Feazel banner in totality, there's 8 total locations right now.
That's awesome. That sounds like fun, exciting growth the past few years,
Yeah. Oh, it's been a fun time. It's busy. You come in one day and the exec team has made a decision that they want to go to another state. So let's go. There's so they're a great group of people to work with, and it always keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, that's great. Well, as I was looking into Feazel too a little bit before we jumped on here, one thing that stood out to me, which I think is really cool as well, is it seems like a business that's in, an industry that's existed for a long time, right? Repair, but you have a new spin on it. Your company's focus has really injected a lot of technology into helping improve that process, right? And so I think that's really cool. I love finding companies like that have thought about a new way to do it, especially in industries that have been around forever.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's, you see technology and you see technological advancements in every other element of your life, whether that's for fun or for work or so you see improvements on how you can manage anything that's in your lifestyle, again, whether that be personal or professional. So as a company that's traditionally known for big level construction, and things are going to get dirty, things are going to get messy, and we can't keep track of the little stuff. We don't want to take that approach, and we want to be on the forward thinking edge when it comes to an exterior contractor. Of course, these are big projects. These are, they require, some dirt and some grit, but that doesn't mean that has to be the same experience that the customer has,
Yeah.
So we don't want to get the customer's hand dirty.
Yeah, no, I get that. That's great. And so specifically, some things that I love looking at your website is, the use of drones and some AI technology to do a lot of really cool stuff with what you do. So I know we may touch on that a little bit later too. So I guess that's a good transition into our topic today. So as you and I were talking about, what should we discuss today on today's episode, you presented this idea of infusing company mission into your marketing. And, I really like that idea, especially I'm interested to hear at a company like yours, where you have these, potentially 8 different locations, you've acquired another company at some point, and so I think it's probably a key part of what you do, and it seems like it's been your company mission has been a key part to your marketing and also your business strategy. So I'm
Mm.
excited to dive into this topic today. Should we jump in?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. Well, I guess to start off, let's have you tell us a little bit more about Feazel's company mission and what that is, and then we can talk about the different applications of that and how you've applied that across marketing and business strategy and everything else.
Sure. Yeah. The company mission for Feazel, and it's the same as I mentioned before, the other, business with Shanco. We want to deliver the best customer service experience and stress-free buying experience in the home improvement industry. And that, it sounds a little general. It sounds not as specific, but we take those 2 tenets and pillars very seriously. One being the best customer service, and the other being the stress-free buying experience. We know that for customers that are in need a new roof or windows or siding, these are arguably the biggest things that you can do on your home. And you might only do one of these things once in your lifetime, depending on the house that you move into, or if you build a new house, or whatever the residential landscape looks like for any particular customer. So we want to make sure that there's no wavering in their decision to choose us when it comes to a remodeling contractor. These are, as I mentioned before, these are big projects. There's a lot of material that has to be delivered, a lot of material that has to be taken off the roof, et cetera. All the specifics when it comes to these projects, and we get that. We've been there. We've all had. The headquarters and the staff associated, we're all homeowners. We understand the specific needs of our place and where we live and raise our families. So, we don't take that lightly. We take that very seriously, that we are providing, a huge element to somebody's home. And we want to make sure that they know that, we don't just roll into town or roll in their house and, not sweep before we leave. We want to make sure that they have everything that they need, and they feel confident that, not only are they going to get the best products, but they're going to get the best experience when it comes to a market of contractors.
Yeah, I love hearing that, because I think that, there's a lot of companies out there who say, here's our mission, it hangs on our wall, but then they don't do anything beyond that. They don't really live up to it. Right. There's no real application of that. So I guess using that to go into the next question that I have for you is, how has that company mission at Feazel shaped decision-making and strategy across the whole company?
That's a good question, because I think that at the very core, it's funny you said everybody hangs it on the wall, and for sure enough, it's on our wall. But it does mean something, and it's on our wall. Because when we built our new headquarters here in Columbus in 2020, and, we were looking at elemental branding opportunities, and it was a no-brainer that mission and that statement should go up there, because everything that we do is centered around the customer. We had mentioned earlier that there have been a few technological advancements on our end that we've done to help that. It's not to make our lives easier. It's not to make our employees' lives easier. It's everything that we do is centered around trying to make it a better experience for the customer, providing the least amount of friction. In marketing, a lot of the times, you always want to, whether it's a cold or a warm lead, you always want to provide the least amount of friction. If you want that lead to convert, if you want them to be more interested, don't have them click through a bunch of different landing pages or et cetera, just get them to where you want as fast as possible. It's kind of the same thing that we do for Feazel and in our marketing strategies. We want to make sure that the customer isn't already annoyed, or already frustrated when they want to get a hold of us, or when they want to, have questions about their property, or when a salesperson is going to come out. At any level of the finer detail of going into something that's a lot more macro in terms of
Mhm.
our products and our services. So every decision that we do it has to be centered around that.
Yeah. It sounds like something too that there's a lot of buy-in. And tell me a little bit more about that. Is this company mission something that came from that executive team or kind of started at the top? I mean, it seems like it's infused throughout the entire company more so than the average company. So like, how did that come to be?
Sure. I think that comes from, it did come from the leadership, our president, Leah Roberto, our CEO, Ross Appledorn. These are two guys who have had years of experience in the home improvement field, specifically within roofing, windows, siding, and they've been on both sides of the fence. They've sold with customers, and they've been on they've been in the dining room, on the table with customers, and talking over their projects and their needs and transactions. And then they've also been on the other side, which is internally here and managing a staff and a sales force. So it's a nice benefit to have a team that's understanding of the customers on such a minute, such a granular level,
Mhm.
because they've interacted with a ton of them throughout their years. It's almost, in some professions you could look at some of the team, and you sure enough, you might have some folks who are just simply talented at what they do,
Mhm.
whether that be with, like human resources or finances or anything like that. But it's such a blessing to have individuals on the executive team who know what it's like
Mhm.
to interact with customers, and know what pain points they have, and what frustrations that can come up during this whole process. So yeah, it definitely came from the top down, and it's something that we just trying to infuse in every single facet of what we do.
Yeah, that's great. So if I were to summarize, some of my takeaways from what we've discussed so far is first, that company mission needs to be lived. It needs to
Hmm.
be real. It needs to start at the top with the executive team and flow through in order to have everyone understand across the whole company the importance of it.
Hmm.
And number two, I like that at the beginning you talked about how you said it might not be the sexiest thing, but it means something to everyone here. And there's two elements of that, right? It's that customer service and the ease of the buying process. And so figuring out what that core is for, anyone's company mission is kind of key. And then helping
Hmm.
people understand how to do that. And specifically, what that translates into at your company, being a really customer centric company. It seems like it's meant that you've done things that aren't the easiest path or not the cheapest path because it's going to be a better customer experience. So again, that probably ties back into the commitment at the top, making
Hmm.
sure that everyone knows that this is what we're going for. And so they're willing to do that later on. Is there anything you would add to that we've discussed so far?
No, I think no, I think that's great, and there are, like I said, it's something that we take very seriously, especially the best customer service aspect and the stress-free buying
Yeah.
experience. I mean, as customers, we're so much a part of the buying experience now than I think we ever have been.
Mm-hmm.
Insofar as when we purchase something on Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
it's there's a sub $10 product, and you are doing more research than you normally have ever done for something like that.
Mm-hmm.
With looking through reviews, or photos on the reviews, right? Like, what does this
Right.
thing look like? Does it break? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's such an intense amount of detail, and we want to provide that same element with like I said, you have a small little trinket or something that you buy for your kids on Amazon versus the literal roof over your head,
Yeah.
that we want to provide, or make sure that the customer knows that we're going to provide that level of service and experience that they want.
Yeah, that's great. So transitioning into the next step though, which is kind of, I think, the meat of this and what we're talking about today, what role does that company mission play then in shaping specifically your marketing initiatives or channels or messaging or, anything else you're doing on the marketing side? What role does that company mission play in that?
There's a lot of facets to the answer to that question. The biggest is making sure, like I said, that they don't get stressed out, or that they're comfortable. Everybody has. I always tell this story as it relates to our marketing and our business in general. Everybody has that story. Everybody has that contractor story. You hired somebody to come in and do a job, and something else happened, or it got messed up, took too long, cost too much. You had all these, the mystery of the margins, and so we always harken back to that, and we don't want to be anybody's story. We don't want to be that the conversation that somebody has when they go to work the next day, and just like, oh, well, you never believe what happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to our marketing, a few years ago we had a campaign that was it was kind of tongue in cheek, and it was a little bit more humorous. We tried to not be as serious when it came to like we have shingles and we have nails, and we're rough, tough people. But
Mm-hmm.
it was well, to start even before that, we do a lot of advertising on television. We partner up with the local stations in every market that we're in. We have a fantastic media buyer that procures and buys some of the best deals that I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
We get a lot of exposure, 30-second, 15-second, 4-second billboard spots. We do a lot of partnerships with, your local weather radar. So if you have like a 5 to 7 day forecast, you'll always see a bumper at the end in our market. So your 5-day forecast brought to you by Feazel. So he does that, and it's just fantastic. But on the television side, we launched, as I was saying, a campaign a few years ago, and it was this young couple, and the guy in the commercial comes home, and his wife comes running up to him and says, great news, the roof is finally leaking. And they both just start, going ecstatic. They're hugging each other. They're so happy. And that was our way of saying, like, of course, this isn't the way it happens. Nobody's ever excited about doing something this big, or having a problem, or especially when the roof is leaking,
Yeah.
And it was our way of saying, hey, we understand that when this happens, it's not ideal. It's not something that people get excited about. We always refer to it here as a negative need,
Mm-hmm.
which, it's hard to market for a negative need. It's hard to advertise for, if you're not providing software as a service, or, you don't get a tangible item that you can put in your house, or you can wear, or you can interact with. It's like buying tires. It's nobody ever gets excited about that, but you need it. So, we had some fun with that, and we want to dispel the idea that this isn't always about the products, or some of the tangibles that we've communicated before. So we had a lot of fun with that. And then recently, our new television campaign, and I bring up TV a lot because it is overwhelmingly, it's probably our number one lead source across the entire brand. Our current TV campaign is a lot more granular when it comes to the process. I had an epiphany that probably should have came a lot earlier in my career here, but I went on a bunch of sales calls with the salespeople here inside the customer's home. I wanted to see how they interact, what they communicate, what they say, and they have almost like a little traveling salesman box. And at this one appointment, one of our salespeople he was literally taking out tangible like pieces of shingle, and like the nails that we use, and the different types of elements that go on a roof and that make up the whole system, rather than just like the shingle that you see. And the customers were so like, just, you would have thought that they were holding like I don't know, the new iPhone or something. It was, they were kind of enthralled by the construction and the intricacy of like each of these process, all the way down to the nail. Because more information that you probably wanted, it's called a cap nail, and it has it's a nail with a little plastic ring around it. So that goes on the underlayment, and at the very, very last resort, if your roof were to blow off, these nails provide more surface area, so it doesn't blow off that underlayment and expose your entire roof to the we call it decking, but the OSB or the plywood underneath. And they were looking at it so intently, and I was like, well, what are we doing here? Why don't we tell the customers what products are these and what makes up the roofing system and educate them a little bit more. So our current campaign does just that. We communicate about everything down to the nail, or there's something that's called a starter strip shingle, and that goes right at the edge of your roof to prevent the wind blow up. So it's a little bit more granular. Obviously, we do it in a very general way, and we do it. We had a great production from um, our creative media partner, but we want to give the customer the information that they want. I mean, and then we tell them that we can put the roof on in a day, and they're just ecstatic,
Hmm.
because they look at it again. It is a big construction project, but the fact that we can do it in a day, and they can be in their front yard and not have any debris, and it's that's the positive experience that they want. That's the experience that does not impede with their daily life. And they get all the information that they want. This is us showing them the review pictures,
Yeah.
where the actual tangible products. You can't. Not a lot of folks that purchase roofs are going up on the roof. They don't know all the levels of the system that go into keeping your house dry and running off the water. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to come up with different campaigns and try a few different things when it comes to reaching customers.
Yeah, I love that. What I love about that, both of those different examples is even though they're different, the common thread to me, at least, is hints back at what that company mission is, what you said at the beginning, right? It's
Hmm.
focused on, it's customer centric, it's focused
Hmm.
on their needs. The first example is being tongue in cheek, but also
Yeah,
empathetic to what they're really feeling in that
absolutely.
situation. And the
Hmm.
second is, that education piece that you noticed through seeing firsthand with customers that they were interested in. And so educating them through that process and making it a more seamless buying experience. So I love that company mission has shaped what those campaigns are. Even if they're different, it's
Hmm.
infused through all of what you're doing, it sounds like.
Sure, absolutely. And you brought up the word that I probably failed to say, but it's empathetic. And that does play into our strategy so much. We don't want to take this situation lightly. We don't want to advertise that, like, oh, this isn't going to be, don't worry about it, we got it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, this is huge. That's why that particular campaign was a lot of fun, because it was us sort of reflecting and being like, nobody wants to do this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but on the other side of that is that we're always there. When that time happens, we are still going to have our lifetime warranty. We are still going to um, have our price match guarantee. We're always going to provide the 12 months interest-free financing, because when it comes about, we have some customers, sure, that they're in a situation and they just want to get their roof replaced, and
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Um, but a lot of folks, it comes at a less than ideal time. And that's why those three pillars, we call it our Feazel advantage. That's not a seasonal thing. If
Mm-hmm.
you call in the middle of summer or the middle of winter, you're going to get the same warranty. You're going to get the same financing options. You're going to get it all.
Yeah. It's not about a promotion. It's about making sure that you have the best experience always for
Right.
those customers. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm curious, what has been the impact either to your company or to your brand from infusing this company mission through all of that marketing?
Um, on the customer side,
Yeah, either. I mean, what benefits have you seen from making sure that this company mission is infused and guiding a lot of the decisions that you're making?
yeah, we get a lot of feedback from our customers, and it is, like, I saw your commercials. I think, like, they're great. That's why I gave you a call. Or, another one of our marketing strategies is our, I'd be remiss if I didn't say it, is your old school door to door. In areas that, we've scouted, we know that has, materials or shingles that are either discontinued or damaged, or there was a lot of weather that rolled in there beforehand. And the reason the folks are maybe more receptive to answering when we knock is the fact that they have seen us in the community, whether that be on TV, or just driving our trucks around.
Yeah.
So I think where there's a lot more receptive to our brand in those markets because of that. But aside from them saying that they like our marketing, which is always good to hear, uh, we try to not think of ourselves in the lens of just a construction company. It's so easy to get caught up in, like I said, the big macro, projects and materials, and driving big trucks around, ladder racks. Like it's a
Mhm.
very heavy and sort of environment, for lack of a better word. Um, we want to make sure, so there's that element, but we want to make sure, like, when a customer goes to our website, that it's light. It's not overcrowded with information, or we don't want to educate them to death.
Yeah.
Information paralysis when it comes to our materials or our processes. And the folks that want that, we're definitely going to provide it to them. But like, it's not always right in the beginning either too. Like, we want to make sure, if they just want to schedule an appointment and talk about all the details later, we'll do that.
Yeah.
So I think that mission comes back into play. It's that stress-free buying experience. Nobody wants to be, like I said, talked down to or talked over. Or when we don't want all the information at once, and that happens, it's daunting.
Mhm.
Like, I think we've all been to enough websites, or um, anything from a customer experience standpoint, and it's like, geez, like, this is too much information.
Right.
I just want X.
Mhm.
So I think that's where we also try and focus our marketing. Again, it's just all about that simplicity. It's all about the least amount of friction. Like, don't do in 3 steps what you could do in 2.
Yeah.
And that's always on the forefront of our mind.
It's great. That's a mark of truly great marketing, because it's harder to do that than to do something, just put it
Yeah,
all out there. So it's
for sure.
hard
It's always hard.
hard to
It's
limit and
always hard to
simplify.
Yeah, it's always hard to say less rather than say more. Even in normal, everybody's probably had know how to talk standpoint, and
Yeah.
everybody, like, you always want to jump in or say what you wanted to say, because it's like right here and you're afraid you forget. And but yeah, we definitely want to take that back seat, and make sure we meet the customer wherever they want to be.
Yeah, that's great. Last question I have for you before we wrap up here today is, hearing you talk about this and how that company mission is just infused and shaping a lot of your marketing. I imagine that in order to have that marketing resonate and feel authentic and honest,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of fulfillment that has to happen from people who are out in the field interacting with customers, right? If you have a
Mm-hmm.
salesperson go knock on the door, or if you have a service person come and do work at the house, they need to really be understand and be bought into that company mission as well. Otherwise, those marketing messages that your team is preaching is going to feel inauthentic, right? So
Sure.
what have you done as a company to make sure that everyone, not just the executive team, not just the marketing team, but everyone, including those people interacting and interfacing with customers, truly understand the company mission and the importance of that?
Yeah, no, again, I mean, great question. I think everybody knows the elements when it comes to our mission statement, and the pillars that we stand for. Um, our salespeople are outfitted with any level of convenience that they can do for the customer, whether that's doing an inspection when the customer isn't home, or if that's easier on their schedule, we can do that. Sometimes customers absolutely want to be there. They have questions, they want to talk to live. But if at the very beginning, if we can just do the inspection and then schedule an in-person time afterward, we'll do that. It's all about, again, that level of convenience. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our Robin program, which is a program that we developed utilizing drone technology for inspections that can be done without the customer being there. We can get all the information that they need. They don't need to take an afternoon off of work to meet the salesperson at their home, or they don't need to shift their schedule. We can do that first part and then follow up with them later, and talk about what we saw, talk about what needs fixing or what doesn't, and everybody goes away happily. But that's definitely on, and our project managers are outfitted with a breakdown of items and to check off that, make sure that this job is done and it's complete, and it's to our satisfaction in terms of producing the project, but their satisfaction overall, that it looks good, there's no debris in the yard, et cetera. But even internally, our folks know about the amount of advertising that we do in all of our facets, whether that be television or digital or direct mail. They understand the depth and breadth and in full disclosure the dollars that go into it. And a project can pass through a lot of hands. One roof can go through, well, it does go through several different stages, and that's pre-production, ordering the materials, scheduling the job with the customer, the actual work, the financing side that might go on beforehand. I mean, there's a lot that can go into one single project, and I think everybody on the Feazel team in every location, and including Shanco, knows that level of detail that must be paid attention to when it comes to providing that best customer service.
Yeah.
Because if a ball can drop in one area, and it leaves a sour taste in your mouth for the whole thing. You can put the best looking roof on and the best materials. But maybe something happened on the back end with payment or financing or who knows, right? So it's intricate. I think I know from experience before I started working and marketing for a roofing company, I had no idea the level of detail and granularity that went into producing a job. I was like, well, you probably just like take some measurements and they call and order some materials and they put the roof on. What's the big deal? But for anybody's home, whether that be, an actual freestanding residential unit or an apartment or condo, nothing's ever the same. And there's a level of intricacy when it comes to every project, and every homeowner or consumer has different needs and different wants. So I think everybody from the top down has the knowledge of, this is what going back, this is what's on the wall. And it's funny too, because in our new headquarters here in Columbus, there is an internal workstation area with probably at any given time like a max of 32 folks back there. We have some elemental branding back there too. That basically says the same thing, like the Feazel way, and we list some of our core initiatives because that's what we're communicating to our customers. We need to remember that internally, and we need to always remember the fact that behind a project, behind this roof or this set of windows, there's a customer behind it. There's a family living in that house, and we just don't want to be their inconvenient story.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, understanding what you're saying, what I'm hearing you say is, it comes down to, it sounds like two different things. First is education. You're making sure that everyone across the company is educated and knows what the company mission is. And the second, I think, which is unique and not every company does this, is empowerment. So everyone is empowered within their own sphere to be able to make decisions that are best for the company, right? You talked about, hinted at that a little bit, that there might be flexibility and someone might prefer, being there or not being there when someone comes by. And so giving people on the front lines, empowering them with the ability within their sphere to make certain decisions and not make it so regimented, I think is so key, because they're the experts in that moment on what they're working on. And so it makes sense to empower them to do that. And I've seen that as a key theme across, all different types of marketing teams, all different types of industries. The ability to empower the people, whether it's to customize and create their own marketing materials or fulfill the customer's needs in the right way, is key to truly doing this well. So
yeah, absolutely. And we want to, we always try to make sure that we're local and we're here. You hear the word local a lot within marketing, especially when it came to like consumer products and food and beverages, for sure. Like the local restaurant or local brews or what have you. So you got a lot of local stuff. But the reason it's so intrinsic and important for us is because there is a general, sometimes bad taste, or there's a stigma in the construction industry, especially on the residential side, that you can have a contractor that's just kind of roll in, do some shoddy work, and then you never are able to get a hold of the person. There's actually a term for that in our industry, and we call it storm chasing. A lot of we call them Chuck in a truck, roll into town when there's some bad weather, and they try to sell some roof and put some materials on and then bounce. They leave town. the job isn't warranted like it would be warranted with Feazel. You know, the contact and the level of information that they can get from the company that put on the roof or did the work, they're no longer able to get a hold of that person. So our dots on the map are huge, and that's also something that we communicate. You know, you're not calling an 800 number. You know, you're calling your local office. The folks that work here live here. We don't travel around the country and you know, just try and take advantage of bad weather. You know, we work in the community, we live in the community. And I think as a construction company, and in our marketing and advertising, we want to communicate that. You know, you're not going to see, like I said, an 800 number, or you're going to talk to like a call center. You know, when you call any office, you're calling the person, when it's 8 to 5, you're calling the person that's sitting at the front desk. You know, and our sales folks, they definitely communicate that. You know, like they're able to say when they're in front of the customer that, like, oh yeah, I live, you know, 20 minutes that way. They're not from out of state. You know, they're not. This isn't their summer job. You know, so that's we don't always get to communicate that in our marketing and advertising, when it comes to, you know, paid forms of media, but it is something, you know, with some of the stuff that we do on the analog level, whether that be direct mail or, you know, some sales sheets, and presentation folders. We do always like to mention that aspect of our business as well.
It's awesome. Well, Robert, this has been an excellent conversation today. Really appreciate you joining and sharing these awesome tips. As we kind of wrap up here, what advice would you leave for any listeners that we have out there based on what we discussed today? What are some takeaways that people could go and apply in their own businesses?
You know, that's a great question. I just think that, like I said, I sort of had that light bulb go off of, you know, and it's nothing new, right? But I had that light bulb go off of like, well, what's the customer experience? You know, like what, you know, I can always think of what I think is most important, or what, you know, you always try to like, you always fall back on anecdotal evidence or experience. And that's just not the case. You know, some people care about things that you would just have no idea or no interest in. And you, not to say that you should care to that particular person, but you should definitely find a scope or a range where you can kind of hit as many elements as you can. So, you know, I would just advise anybody who's, you know, in any level of marketing or advertising, whether that's B2C or B2B, just kind of remove yourself, you know, from it, and try to think like outside of the realms of your interests or what you think is cool. You know, my experience with that is, you know, and I don't know if we're crushed for time, but you know, I always wanted to, I'm a cord cutter essentially, you know, and I was like, why aren't we advertising on, you know, like digital streams or over the, you know, OTT elements. And we tried it out, and man, just not a whole lot of calls coming in from that. And so that was just an eye-opening experience for me. And who knows what that's attributed to? Is it attributed to, you know, a younger generation of homeowners having that and not needing our services? Maybe. Is it the fact that some of the OTT advertising maybe hits less or hits different? Who knows? But it was an experience that I had, and it was like, okay, well, maybe it's not always about how I want to be catered to or how I want to be advertised to. And that's why those in-person meetings I had with one of our salespeople it was just an eye-opening experience, and we ended up centering an entire campaign around it. And sure enough, we get some great feedback. And so I would just, you know, there's always an abundance of information that we can read, that we can figure out. There's, you know, a ton of metrics that you can get caught up in, and what's going to give you the best click-through rate, what's going to, the most impressions, or, you know, et cetera. We've all heard every acronym within the field, but I think it truly does come down to, you know, what we do here is just kind of meeting your customer and trying to provide that level of experience and positive experience. You know, because in our industry specifically, it can go south real quick, you know. And we recognize that, so that's why we do everything that we can to not be an inconvenience before.
Yeah. Excellent advice. Well, again, thank you so much for the time today. You know, if any of our listeners have follow-up questions or want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to stay in contact with you?
Sure. Our website is feazelinc.com, feazelinc.com. And then with the same, my email, rthomas@feazelinc.com. I had a great amount of people mentor me in my career and in coming up. Always happy to have conversations or answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Robert. It's been great talking with you today. Hope you have a great
Absolutely. You
rest of the
too.
day.
Same to
Thanks.
you. Bye-bye.